All right, it's such a bright morning here, and it's great to have you there again. We just finished administering vaccines to our birds, as you can see. Here with me, I have the infectious bronchitis and Newcastle disease vaccine, and I also have the infectious bursal disease vaccine, all administered this morning. The question I want to answer today is: are these vaccines necessary? If yes, why are they necessary, and how should they be administered? How should vaccination with the birds, how should it look like? Preparing for that, and how do we do it? So today's video is here to answer that question. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified just each time we drop a new video. This is Farm Life. All right, so summarily, what are vaccines? I know many times you have gone and bought vaccines. Sometimes they have asked you to buy this particular number of doses for the number of birds. Sometimes they have asked you to retail. What are vaccines? Vaccines, simply put, are biological and chemical preparations that they provide a degree of immunity for your birds against a particular disease. For example, this vaccine, what I'm holding here, provides immunity to the birds against the Newcastle disease. The other one I'm holding here provides immunity to the birds against the infectious bursal diseases. So vaccines are very, very important because each vaccine provides a degree of immunity to the birds. They become resistant. It builds the immune system to be strong and to fight a particular disease. So if you play ignorance on this, or if you ignore this, you are just saying, all right, Newcastle, please come and take over the farm. You are saying infectious bursal disease, come and take over the farm. You are calling Gumbogo, come and take over the farm. So these things go a long way to build up the immune system of your flock. And like in our last video, we're talking about risk management. One of the things, if you must manage and minimize risk on your farm, one of the things that you must do is to take vaccinations very, very serious. So I want to share with you how vaccines should be administered, number one, and what you should do while preparing to give vaccines to your birds. What will give your birds the required immunity to fight and combat these diseases is taking their vaccination serious. So I want us to look at a few considerations, a few things to note when it comes to giving your birds vaccine. The first thing I want to say is that vaccines go a long way to prevent breakout of diseases on your farms. It goes a long way to prevent the breakout of disease. All the diseases that I've listed earlier, vaccines go a long way. It just acts like a booster, a strengthener to the immune system of the flocks, so that even if there is a possibility of that disease breaking out on the farm, the immune system becomes very, very resistant to that disease, and that is how your birds, you're able to fight death and breakout of disease. Vaccines will go a long way to reduce and cut down on mortality. It will also go a long way to improve productivity, and so on and so forth. So what preparations are you supposed to make even before administering vaccines to your flock, even before giving them the vaccines, whether it's an oral vaccine or injectable vaccine? How do you prepare for that? The first thing I want to talk about is the source of the vaccines. Make sure you get vaccines from a legible source. When you pick up your vaccines, check on the batch number, check on the expiry date. For example, the vaccines I'm having here expires in August, on the 8th of August 2025. You must make sure that the vaccines, you are sure of the source of the vaccines, you are sure about the expiry date of the vaccines. It becomes very, very terrible if you give your bird vaccines that are expired. So one very, very important thing, make sure you get your vaccines from a legible source. Make sure you check the expiry date, make sure you check the batch number and every other detail of the vaccine, just to be sure that the vaccines are coming from a very, very good source. The next thing you want to consider while preparing to give your birds vaccines is that you should have a vaccination schedule. I want to talk about the schedule and the timing. Even before talking about the technique, make sure you have a vaccination schedule. Every vaccine has a specific time that the birds have to receive it. Is it during the first day? Is it during the first week, the second week, the third week? Is it during the 10th week? So you must make sure you respect the schedule. If they are to be administered within a particular time, within a particular day, you must make sure you do that. Vaccines are also very, very good to be administered while the sun is still very, very down, while places are not yet very, very hot. So try as much as you can to administer the vaccines very, very early, because vaccines, first of all, high temperature denatures them. That's why from the place where you get your vaccine, you will notice that most times, every time, even vaccines should be removed maybe from a refrigerator or from just a fridge and given to you, because there's a particular temperature under which vaccines must be stored. If you take the vaccines and you keep them, you expose them maybe to heat for long hours, you denature and you destroy the potency of the vaccines. So they don't need to be extremely cold. Just like I was talking about reading the expiring date and reading maybe the batch number, I think for every vaccine you also find there a recommended temperature. So for example, this vaccine says under the storage section, it says that you should store it under 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, protecting it from light. So you must understand all of these things. It's the same thing for the other vaccine. For all of these two vaccines, the recommendation is for us to store them within 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. You want to get the vaccine from somebody you are sure that has kept the vaccines within that temperature, and you taking the vaccines, you must be able to keep the vaccines within that other temperature. That's why when getting vaccines, you need to go there either with a flask to keep the vaccines there. You need to get an ice block to just make sure that that particular temperature is maintained. Otherwise, the potency of the vaccines becomes destroyed. So now you have gotten your vaccines. Temperature is good. You are preserving them very, very well. For me, most times I get my vaccines, I keep them in a small flask and I make sure I have ice blocks there, or I keep them in my fridge to just make sure the temperature is maintained. Now you have gotten the vaccines. The next thing that you should take into consideration is that you must make sure that you have starved your birds enough, say 2 hours of them not having access to water. Why do you starve your birds? This is so that they begin to have the thirst for water, so that when you bring the vaccines within a very, very short period of time, they should be able to drink out the vaccine, so that they don't just allow it there. So you must be able to keep your birds starved from water for like 2 hours. 2 hours is the recommended time. You keep them very, very thirsty, so much such that when you place that vaccine in front of them, they are just going to pick it and drink it at a very, very fast interval. So starve your birds 2 hours even before you administer. Everything will be okay. The next thing I want to mention is something related to hygiene. Make sure vaccines are administered under the best hygienic conditions. You have to wash the drinkers, wash the buckets, wash just everything that you'll be using to administer those vaccines. Yes, even if you wash the drinkers the previous day, the next day, that morning before administering the vaccines, make sure that you have the drinkers washed, the bucket or whatever vessel you'll be using to mix up the vaccine, have everything washed, because if an impurity gets into the vaccine, it has the potential of weakening the potency of that vaccine. You want to make sure that the vaccine is not only administered, but it's administered in the same potency and with the same strength that it was supposed to work on and within the birds. And the next thing you want to do is that you make sure that you monitor the birds closely. Even before giving the vaccines, if your birds are already weak and are presenting signs of maybe sickness, don't go ahead and give the vaccine. Put a call through to your vet and give the report to them, so that the sickness or maybe what they are struggling with can be handled before giving vaccines to them. So don't go ahead and give vaccines to birds that are already sick without any medical advice. So monitor your birds even before giving the vaccines to them. If they have issues, then seek veterinary or medical advice from a veterinary technician. If they are okay, then administer the vaccines. Even after administering the vaccines, make sure you monitor them closely. If they are becoming weak and they are becoming stressed, you must try as much as possible as you can to relieve them of that stress. That's why it's recommended that after birds receive vaccines, it's always important to give them vitamins and any anti-stress supplement. All right, the last thing I want to say as concerning vaccination is that you must be careful to maintain accurate vaccination records. Have a record of all the vaccines you have given to your birds. You see, it helps you to be sure that each and every vaccine has been given within the time it's supposed to be given. The first vaccine you gave, write it down, write the date down. The second vaccine, write the name down, take the date down, and just make sure you have accurate records of every vaccination. Let nobody lie to you. Vaccination is very, very important. If you joke with vaccination, that means you want to increase the rate of mortality on your farm. You want to expose your birds to adverse effects of just any kind of disease. So take vaccination very, very serious. Take care of your flocks. Keep maintaining biosecurity measures. Keep feeding them very, very well, and everything is going to be fine. From the stage of day old, you also have birds that are laying and are in active production and are also profitable. Thank you for following the video up to this time. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time we drop a video. See you on our next video, and from here we say bye bye.